Hey, everybody, welcome. Is that a Beatles song? Let's come together.
Yeah, it's a long intro.
Yeah, it's a long intro. That's our. There we go. Thanks a lot, Kurt. Hey, everybody. Thank you to another terrific edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. And we're just going to get right to our guest who's on the line from Miami. This is Jon Warech. Thanks for being here, Jon Warech.
Thanks for having me.
Jon wrote the wildly successful book with Byron Scott and Charlie Norris called Slam Dunk Success, Leading from Every Position on Life's Court. This is a terrific read. I read it twice, actually, over the weekend. I scoured it. Friends of mine were reading it. It's a great book. And the reason why we have Jon on today is because I was very interested in the entire process of ghostwriting and how he wrote this book. Another note, just for all of our viewers, I was on the phone extensively today with Charlie, and Charlie and Byron are going to be joining us in studio. Actually, not this week, but they're either going to be coming on with us next week. That would be July 12th, or they're going to be coming on July 26th. We're trying to coordinate their schedules. So that's going to be something to really look forward to. But right now, we have the guy who spent a lot of time with them both to talk about their journey into writing this book. So again, Jon, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. So
for those who don't know, and you have to probably live under a rock if you don't know, Byron Scott is quite a successful three-time champion of the Lakers, NBA champion. Twice took the New Jersey Nets to the NBA Finals. He won Coach of the Year with the New Orleans Hornets, and he coached the Lakers, I guess, the 2014-15 season and also 15-16 season. He played with Kobe Bryant when Bryant was just a rookie, and then he coached him on his last game. He's got quite a success story from the beginning all the way on up. And then, of course, Charlie Norris is a very, very successful businessman. He's known for turning around companies. He's got a terrific attitude on how he approaches his business ethic. And the two of them met in a very, very interesting way, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They met in the gym, and especially in the gym, you would think that they were a bit of an odd couple, but they hit it off and realized they had a lot in common, especially when it comes to leadership and how they live successfully in life and in the business world.
Yeah, I actually think we have a little YouTube clip of them talking about why, because you're right. If you look at the two of these guys, and by the way, I work out at the same gym. Charlie and I were talking about this morning. I also go to the same Equinox, and I've seen them both just sort of sitting there chatting away on the treadmill, and little did I know that over the past couple of years they were talking about writing a book together. So let's hear them talk about that.
And I'm not sure whether I said to B or B said to me, there's a book here.
You said it to me. You said, I think we should write a book. Yeah.
I think we should.
They're adorable.
I think we should write a book, and we can write a book about our workout. We can write a book about our leadership, because we had spent a lot of time on those machines talking about our respective leadership styles. It would be fun. And we both thought, maybe there is something here, and that was the genesis on how it started.
I love that. So these were two guys, spending their morning, every morning virtually, on the treadmill, talking about their business philosophies on and off the court, and then it morphed into this terrific book. How did you meet them, and what was it like getting together with them to write this?
Well, we were set up through, agents and business contacts and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But then I went out there and spent a good amount of time with them, first writing a proposal, and then, obviously working on the book after that. And, you really have to see their dynamic, like you just saw in the YouTube video, or just spend some time with them to see their personalities and how they play off of each other to really sort of understand their connection.
Oh, I'm going to have a terrific time with them when they're in studio, because they are a lot of fun, and they don't take themselves too seriously when they're together. Their message is serious, but when they're together, their banter is terrific to watch and listen to. So what did you do first? As a ghostwriter, if you will, not much of a ghost because your name is on the book, but as a writer, right, someone who collaborated on this book, what do you do? What's the first step for someone like you? What do you do? You go in with the background, you sit with them for a couple of hours. What's the process?
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of research ahead of time. Obviously, I knew more about Byron's career going in than I did Charlie's. But I did a little research on both of them, and then when we got together, it's really about learning who they are as people. So one of the first things we did was go to the gym and see what it's like there and how they interact, and not just how they interact, but how everybody else in the gym sort of interacts with them.
Oh, they walk in, right? Because I've seen this. They walk in and they sort of have this swagger, particularly Byron, right? He's got this little swagger about him. And then people are like, hey, how you doing? I've seen it with him and with Magic, because Magic Johnson goes to that gym. What a gym to go to, you guys. And everybody loves them. They have a great personality, a great attitude, right?
Yeah, they really do. And they're like the mayors of the gym there.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, Magic was there. Magic was there when I was there. You spend time talking to him, and yeah, all of a sudden you're just working out with Byron Scott, Magic Johnson, and Charlie, and it's quite an experience. So that was one of the first things I did, and you really get to know who they are, and they're also very competitive too. Even when it comes to stuff in the gym, and also with they play cards and do all sorts of things. So it's fun to watch their it's fun, but it's also their competitive nature. But meanwhile, I was I couldn't even keep up with them, and I'm younger than both of them.
Wait a minute. So they actually put you on the treadmill for this thing?
Oh, yeah, they did.
I love that. That's terrific.
I did as much as I could.
Well, Charlie and I were talking this morning, again, over the phone, and he was telling me, I told him I did the L.A. Marathon, and he said that he twice did the New York Marathon. And I said, well, I'm going to try and do that one this year. So I got the competitive nature. I've got it in me, too. It's like, hey, I did, too. Well, I might try and do another one this year, too. So I get that. I love that about them. So you notice that about them right from the start, right, that they have this very friendly, competitive nature, right?
Yeah, definitely. You see that from the beginning. But then, you also see the way they talk to people, at the gym or just in general. Because I also spend a lot of time talking to people that either they've worked with or, in Byron's case, other coaches or players. And in Charlie's case, people at the various companies he's with, to get their perspective on it too. And on both sides, they could almost be talking about either one of them, even though their careers didn't overlap at all in any of these times. The way they talk about their personalities, and how they dealt with people, how they talked to people, how they got the most out of the people around them. You really see that being successful, first it starts maybe with that competitive nature, but it also deals with how you treat others. And that's kind of what has made both of them a success. And you can see it from day one in the gym.
Right. And it's about not judging, and it's about if you're walking to a situation and to assess. I mean, Charlie and I we're talking this morning, and he said, I walk into a situation and I listen. I really listen, and I try and hear what people are saying. And I know that in terms of his coaching style, Byron is the same way. He watches, he assesses, and he does the same thing. And he was quite an incredible player. I mean, 3 championships earlier on in his career, quite outstanding. And then to transition over into a coach. What did he say to you that made it when he knew at the moment that he could transition over to being a coach? Because that's not easy to do. A lot of these guys can't do that.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people can't do it. But he has this way about him where he can really relate to people. And I think when it started, he was a player's coach, and I think people still look at him that way. And it is a players' league, as they say. So I think that helps him. I think he, when the other players see that he's won the championships and then he's also as a coach early on had a lot of great success. I think it sort of it builds sort of a reputation that he can sort of lean on, which is good.
But they can't.
Each player that he's had.
Go ahead.
What?
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying he's coached a lot of different personalities, and he's gotten the most out of all of them. There's guys who, maybe it was their only all-star year was when he was their coach, so he was able to push them in that direction. And then there's guys, who he coached early in their career, like a Kyrie Irving, who has now, blossomed into one of the biggest stars in the league. And I think, his early time with Byron really helped mold that. So it starts with sort of a respect level, but then it's also, he knows what he's doing. So between those two things, I think it makes him a success.
What impressed you the most about both of them?
I think really just their attitudes about everything. You know, they are so positive all the time, and you know, whether it's, you know, a business thing they're doing, they put their hearts into everything they do. You know, even just in the gym, you know, you could see they care about meeting their goals. So if they can do it, if they do that in the gym, they certainly do it when it comes to business or, you know, sports or whatever it is they're doing.
I like about the
they're also
go ahead.
Yep. No, I was going to say they're also just both very like well-rounded guys. You know, you can talk to them about anything, and they have opinions on every topic, and they have the family life that they enjoy and free time that they make the most out of, and they're just it's inspiring to watch them just be leaders every day. It's a 24-hour leadership's a 24-hour a day job, and that's kind of how they live their life.
What's interesting about the book and the way you wrote it, Jon, which is why I wanted you on, because I do quite a bit of reading, and I love the way you put the two of them. They both had a story and an opinion in each and every chapter, right? And I thought that was actually very interesting. You know, various chapters, one about honesty, another about the art of focus, and how each one of them talked about their own experiences in business, on the court. And really, even though they've had different experiences in business, they think so similarly, right? So how were you able to put that together in each chapter? Because I know that you recorded hours and hours and days of them interviewed, right? You interviewed them for a long period of time.
Yeah. Hours and hours.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time out there. First, writing a proposal, and then with the book. I mean, it's you really get to know somebody after that period of time. But yeah, combining their stories was probably the most difficult thing I've done in this field. Just because, you know, they're not the same age. They weren't. Their careers didn't overlap time-wise.
Yeah, they had different backgrounds in terms of being kids. I mean, everything about it was different, yet they have a similar philosophy. And I guess you sort of started with that, right? You grew from their philosophy, and then you were able to match it per chapter?
Yeah, that's basically what we did. We found the talking points that aligned, and then wrote each chapter that way. The story kind of takes you, Byron's is sort of more chronological than Charlie's, because it just worked out sort of better that way.
Mm-hmm.
But in all cases, the way they handle situations, you find out are the same. And, you know, like you said, whatever the topic is, you can find an experience in their careers where it matches up, whether it's, you know, honesty or some sort of bargaining of any kind, or how to get the most out of people, or whatever, or panicking in situations, whatever the case may be. They've both been tested a great deal throughout their careers, and amazingly enough, they found similar ways to handle a lot of situations.
You know, Byron, I know, talks a lot about, especially in the beginning of the book, about what happened coaching the Lakers these past 2 years, and how he expected it to continue, and how when it did not, he was very, very disappointed in the people that he had originally signed that contract with. And it was a trust factor for him, wasn't it? That really made an impression on him.
Yeah, I mean, you walk in, especially when you've given so much of your life to an organization. You know, you walk in with expectations, and people tell you certain things, and you want to trust them, because you have relationships with them well beyond what the current coaching scenario was, and so you want to hope that that everyone's being honest, and you're all making the right decisions together. But it doesn't always work out that way in life and in business. And the key is to not let that sort of define who you are as a person, or your success in your career as a whole. And and every situation is a learning experience as well, which is something that both of them talk about a great deal.
We talked about that. I was telling him that I had been through some tough times lately, through some family stuff that, people passing away, which is always difficult. And that, how the people you think are going to be there for you in the toughest of times, sometimes they'll turn their back, and you've trusted them. And that's how he felt. He was saying about what happened here with the Lakers. But you're right. It turned him around, and he realized that sometimes that's just the way it goes. And he's going to turn that whole situation around and make it work for him. How many hours? And did you interview them together, or did you interview them separately at first?
We did a little of both, actually.
You did? Okay.
We did a bunch of it together, and then we did some separate time so we could focus on specific things for each one of them.
So what do you do? Do you go to their house? Do you sit at the coffee place by the gym? I mean, where do you do this?
Yeah, mostly at Charlie's house. That was where most of it was done, and then sometimes in a hotel that I was at. So it's usually quiet setting, one-on-one, or in this case, one-on-two.
Do you come up with?
It was good.
When you're a writer, do you come up with a lot of the questions, or you just do you go in a chronological order in terms of trying to get their stories out from when they were little all the way up until, current time? Or because again, I'm trying to get a beat on how you can turn two people that are virtually grew up differently to come up with their stories to write a book that is such an easy read and a good read.
Yeah, I mean, asking the right questions is probably the biggest part of my job. And, just years in the journalism world has sort of prepared me for that. So I do go in, with the basics, things I know I want to talk about, but I really let the conversation just kind of flow. So while we might start off talking about one thing, after even just a few minutes, we veer off into something else. And then
you got to let them go.
In that conversation, we find chapters, we find key talking points that I know I can turn into full chapters. And then I dig deeper to get the story behind it. Because, for each lesson that's learned, and at the end of the book, there's like a X's and O's, which kind of gives you a breakdown of the lessons. So for each one of those, there has to be a story that led you to that. And
right.
So every time a little bell would go off in my head, I'd be like, oh, that could be one of those things, and then I would sort of dig deeper on their lives. And then at the end of the day, you can kind of line up both of their experiences, even though they're like you said, very different backgrounds, very different careers.
Let's talk about
both winners. And
absolutely. Let's talk about Charlie for a minute. What made him, if you will, the most passionate and animated when you were talking to him? Was there a particular deal that he did, or someone in his life? What would you say? Or a situation, let me know.
Yeah. I mean, even the funny thing with him was, he's had a lot of great success, and he was always very, proud of the work he did. But it always sounded like he was more proud of the relationships he had with people, the way he was able to, either work things out with, in a company that he had to turn around, and maybe they had to let go of a large number of people. His ability to sort of keep the others that were still there motivated, and then, by the time he was ready to retire or leave a specific company, the terms that he left on with those people was always what he seemed to pride himself on the most.
Right. He was able
to have these relationships be well beyond the time he was working there.
He was able to successfully turn a company around to be incredibly profitable, while at the same time, at least the people who worked for him and under him had respect for him, even when he had to let people go. And that's something that impressed me about him, that he cared about those people. And he wasn't just someone who was a cold executive. He is someone with a large heart. And I personally attribute a lot of his success to that. Aside from the fact that he's a brilliant man, he's a smart man, and very intuitive, he cares about the people that are working for him. Was there any one story in particular that stood out for you, a particular company?
Well, I talked to a lot of people that he worked with.
Right.
And so that, there was a woman who was the HR director at, I think it was at McKesson. And,
right.
And she was,
that was his,
they had.
That was his first job, wasn't it? I think so. I mean, I'm, you know what? I'm looking at the timeline. So, and I know you wrote this a bit ago, so I'm the one looking. Yeah, it was in there. It was in his career. But okay, so what was she saying? What was she saying about him?
So just what he would say about her and what she would say about him, as far as their relationship and how they, you know, they were able to he was sort of able to lean on her, you know, when he needed just, you know, advice. And how but then she would tell me how, you know, how much he respected her opinion and the opinions of others, and just the dynamic there. It was just proof that all these years later, it really stuck with her and helped shape her whole career. I think. I mean, I don't know if Charlie would say this, but I think just from talking to her that, you know, it shaped her career and even the other people around them. You know, the other people I've talked to, like the impact he had, not just while he was with them, but you know, what he left them when he was gone. There's something I don't know if he would share this, but, you know, I happened to look through a folder that he had of these letters that everybody wrote him when he was leaving McKesson. And I mean, the things that these people were saying, it was just unbelievable. Like, I think that's everybody's dream would be to leave a company with that much love from all the people that worked beneath you.
Especially a guy at the top. That reminds me of my dad. He worked at Tropicana Orange Juice before he retired and then passed away in the past year or so. And the people loved him. I mean, they did the same thing. They wrote letters to him, and I always remember that. My dad always said to me, it starts at the top. If you're kind to people, they're going to be kind to you back. And that's the impression I get from both of these gentlemen. Not just kind, but talented, and they give people the benefit of the doubt. They're strong, they're smart. They're funny guys, too, aren't they? You must have had a good time hanging out with these guys.
Yeah, I really did. And they welcomed me into their world, you know, in a way that you probably wouldn't get as a writer normally. You know,
I
felt like, you know, we went to dinners and stuff, and we hung out, and you feel like friends as you're writing the story, which you don't normally get on projects like this. So.
Yeah, I like to say, as a writer, as a journalist, I believe we get to do things and see things and meet people and get to know people that so many people don't have the opportunity to. And then it's almost our obligation to explain that to other people and what those people were like. And now a little bit about your background. You've written for People Magazine, Us Weekly, the New York Daily News, Vibe Magazine. You are currently, you freelance with Entertainment Tonight, Ocean Drive, among other publications, and you've collaborated on two other books, perhaps more, but at least these two that people would know. Kendra Wilkinson, she's the TV star of The Girls Next Door, right? I loved that show, and I love her. She's so, like, out there. She's really cool. The name of her book, you did that, 2010, I think? Sliding into Home. I want to know how you got that title. And also, Jodie Sweetin of Full House. I know you told me over the phone that you were a big fan of hers when you were a kid, and then you got to write her book and called Unsweetened, and it's about her struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. How did you approach those differently from this book?
Well, the difference was those were more, you know, straight memoirs, so you're really just focusing on the highlights of their life, the turning points in their lives. This is a leadership book, and it's also, like I said, it's two stories, so you're sort of comparing the two, but you're not necessarily highlighting, you know, turning points in their lives as much as you are in their careers. So I'm sure there are personal stuff of both of their lives that made huge impacts, but it might not have made it into this book necessarily. Whereas with Jodie and Kendra, you're really focusing on like the personal side and less about their business, even though they're both very successful at what they do.
As a writer and a journalist, how did you then get into this line of work, writing other people's stories in their voice? Because, again, what impressed me about you is how you capture each one of their voices very individually and distinctively. It's a real art. Is that just something that comes to you instinctively?
I guess. Also, I mean, when you record and you listen, you know, you're listening first, obviously in person, but then also the recordings over and over again, and you read the transcriptions as well, and you just sort of pick it up. You know, you take the key points of what they're trying to say, and you know, many times that is word for word, and then you know you're filling it in with sort of points that the way you think they would say it. And then, of course, they read it over and you go back and forth and, you come up with a sort of a final draft. But in the end, you spend enough time with a person, you almost become them for
Isn't that true? It's kind of like being an actor. Somehow you just become them, and you wake up in the middle of the night, and oh my gosh, they're on your mind, right? It's like Byron Scott is on your mind as you're waking up at 2 a.m. Isn't that that happens to me? If I'm doing a story or I've got somebody like that on my mind that I'm about to interview, they live with me all the time, and it's almost hard when you're finished with a project to let that go, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they were nice. I'd wake up in the middle of the night because I'd be thinking of something and I would scribble it down somewhere, and the next day when I was writing, that would work itself into the book somehow. So yeah, you're really thinking about it all the time, and then when it's all over, it's almost like it's sad a little bit that you're done with it because you've attached so much of your life to it.
Yeah, the good news is you stay in touch, especially if you've had a good relationship with them, which I know you did. So this book is pretty much a read for anybody, right? I mean, I'm a mom and a journalist, and I dabble a little with acting. And to me, I found this a great read, and I got a lot out of it, with their attitude in life and how they approach things. I find that I'm very similar. I try and approach it with a really positive attitude. But a kid can read this and get so much out of it. A business guy can read this. This really has a broad appeal, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. And it's not, a lot of people are always looking for sort of business books, but then they get overwhelmed with a lot of the topics. And this, I think it makes it entertaining and a little easier to read because, you have the sports factor mixed in. But, like you said, it's really a book about leadership and how to just be better at anything that you're doing. So it really fits anybody, really.
Yeah. So how's it doing? I mean, they've been doing the circuit, getting around with the book. I mean, I know, like I said, I've turned a lot of people onto this book. My friends who are sports journalists, I know so many people who are, and it's just been terrific.
Yeah, I think it's doing pretty well, and they're also, doing a lot of speaking engagements places, and they had book signings. We had Michael Strahan with them at the one in New York, and Magic Johnson, and I think AC Green at one in LA. And
did they do anything at Equinox? Do you know?
Yeah, they were both of those signings were at Equinox.
Yeah, because I'm pretty
New York.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that they closed that place down. I mean, that was a really, really popular day, and that was at the main Equinox over there where they met. So. Next up for you is what? Are you working on another book that you can tell us about?
I'm working. I have a couple proposals I'm writing. I'm not really supposed to talk about it until it's sort of circulating out there.
Can you give me an idea, like the genre, like who it is, or not who it is, but the genre? Is it a sports person? Is it an actor, an actress? Is it a murderer in jail? I mean, who is it? That would be interesting. What? Wait a minute. I've always wanted to interview Scott Peterson. You know who he is?
Yeah.
I think he is, I find him to be a fascinating creature, and he is somebody that I would actually like to go and interview and sit down face to face and look into his eyes and see if there's anything even there. But that's why I brought that up. But can you give me an idea?
Yeah. It's not with him. I can tell you that.
Yeah, don't take him away from me. I'm going to go after that one. So go ahead.
Sounds good. No, I'm working on it's one with a psychic medium, which I'm very into.
Oh, am I not allowed to guess? Can I guess and you wouldn't tell me? I guess not, huh? Okay. What's that guy?
No,
that young guy?
Do that.
Who's that young guy? What's his name? Tyler Henry, do you know him? I mean, I don't know if I believe in that people can be extremely intuitive. I really do. But do you know that guy, Tyler Henry? He's like that young kid, and he goes around to celebrities' houses, and he tells them, about the ghosts that are in the room and what's, what he's feeling about them and their lives. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I do. I do know him. He has a book out already, I believe.
Okay, so it's not him. He's pretty fascinating, right? I mean, I just saw something on him. Who was it? Alan Thicke. He was talking to him. He had him and his wife on, and he was saying, your heart. You need to check your heart. I'm feeling something about your heart, and he wouldn't stop. He pressed the point and pressed the point, boom, 2-3 months later, he died, Alan Thicke, of heart trouble. So I actually found that a little scary. Did you know about that?
I did not, but
yeah, it was pretty.
That does a lot of celebrity stuff, which actually for me, I'm less interested in that part of it and more interested in, like what you were saying, like the everyday person's sort of intuition and how you can let that guide you through life.
Let it go. You know, you have to. If something doesn't feel right, even if it's right for somebody in your family, and they say, go do this, you've got to trust your gut and your intuition. That's the number one thing I also got out of this book, Slam Dunk. They trust their intuition. They believe that what they, and they trust that, and they put it out there to other people. Anyway, I want to thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed talking to you because the whole process of writing a book in someone else's voice, to me, is just very interesting, and I appreciate your lending some insight into that, so thank you.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Well, what I'm looking forward to is having those two guys on. I think having Byron on and Charlie on, because I have a lot of questions for them.
That's going to be a fun show.
I mean, you know, this writer, Jon, is very, very smart, intuitive. He's almost technical in nature, you know, the way he approaches something. So, but when I talk to Charlie, and I know Byron as well, they're just very, very conversational, and they'll just start laughing and cracking the jokes, and I think you can throw anything at them and they'll throw it right back. So stay tuned for that one. They're either going to be on with us next week on July 12th or on July 26th, and, you know, we'll let you know. So tune in, and thank you for being here for another fun show of Deborah Kobylt Live. We'll see you next week.